Hello and welcome to this hopefully brief tutorial on our Viewer Select playthrough of Imperator Rome. And this is the 1.3 Livy update Viewer Select tutorial. So we'll quickly run through not the changes to the base game. There are plenty of other tutorials about that, but the changes to the Viewer Select system that we will be using when playing Imperator Rome. The goal is to make it exceptionally, not viewer-driven, well, still viewer-driven, but not like, anyway, it's to be more interactive, more ways to interact and more ways to impact the playthrough, but not be, like, hobbled or wholly dependent. So, like, it's still, like, to sort of, it's not set and forget, but it's also not inaction because of inactivity. It's still, things will still happen. I'll still be able to play and push us forwards, but you all will also be able to jump in and change the direction of Rome's history, fate, even more so. So that's good. So first, let's sort of, I guess, like the date. I have a mod, and I've edited some of the text files to make sure that we can, like, everyone, like, no one understands Roman dates. I don't. And I'm everyone, I guess. And so having it in the BCE format, I think, is going to help people understand, like, okay, this is sort of conceptualizing where we are in time. We, of course, will be Rome. And so that is the same. We've actually only ever played as Rome. Someday we'll play as another nation, probably, maybe. One big thing, of course, is going to be missions. Determining which missions we want to pursue is going to be a big thing. Actually, I should talk about the Viewer Select side of things before I get into how that will actually then affect the playthrough. So let's quickly jump into a display capture. Ooh. Alright, so this is our Viewer Select, the tutorial. Oh god, I still have to change a few things, but basically the old system of having proposals, parties, and political support has that part. It still remains the same, but now there's more, without it being overwhelming or overly complex. So, what is that going to mean? It's going to mean jumping in as a viewer. So in this case, if I make the redemption join the Senate, just means you join the playthrough, you want to be active or lurking, or active in future sessions as a viewer. So in this case, I'd be Ser Squire. And this will be the set of information that you'll want to keep tabs on with this Google Doc, that you can use the exclamation Rome command in. So if we jump over here into the actual let's see, there we go. Rome, Ave, citizen of Rome. The Republic is waiting for your guiding hand. So that's good. That chat command will be there for you to use. All right, so let's jump back into this. So there are 3 skills that are tied to in-game skills that the characters in the game have: martial, finesse, charisma. Couldn't think of anything for zeal to do, so you don't have a zeal skill. I won't have a zeal skill. Every 2 years, which is sort of the election cycle that we use, as well as just, it's a good amount of time. It's depending on how fast we're going through the game, it just tends to be a very good chunk, a very nice, not too long, not too short, a pretty Goldilocks level of time. So every cycle, every 2 years, you can take 1 action for free and up to 2 actions for 50 thorns each. So you can max it out at 3 actions, no more. So 0 to 3 actions every 2 years. You can improve your martial skills by training troops. You can increase your finesse skill by getting into the merchant trade, and you can increase your charisma through political rallies. Each of these then directly affects your political support. We'll get into that a little bit later, but it also has a more direct, tangible outcome. So as you increase your martial skill, you will then be able to accrue manpower even more quickly, not quickly, but like in larger and larger chunks. So, like, let's say if I were to throw my first action into martial, then at the end of the 2-year period, my martial would increase by 1, and that would add 100 manpower to me. That I will have 100 manpower that I can do with what I want. In the future, I might donate it to Rome. In the future, I might be granted a generalship, and so I'll actually use it to build up my own personal armies. That then I might just say, Gaul, and attack Gaul without the support of the Senate. Or it might be like, okay, all of us, there's 3 of us, we've got armies, we're going to coordinate and invade Gaul together. But more on that stuff. Actually, that will probably be like in-game explanations. So then let's say 2 more years pass, I decide to put another action into martial. My martial goes up to 2, and because of that, I now get 100 times my martial, which is now 2, plus my existing manpower. So I get 200 more manpower, bringing me up to 300 manpower. So it's a stacking effect, as well as a multiplying effect. The more martial I have, the more manpower I can have. So there's that incentive to specialize, and also then a bonus for that, but also you can diversify. It's not a huge hit against you to be a diversified player in terms of skills that you build up. Now, what does that mean? The sum of all your skills now equal your political support. So you don't have to throw thorns into stuff. It's going to just be an automatic thing. If you are a well-known general or well-known merchant or just a really well-known politician, then that immediately pushes into political support. Your political support then is given to your party, and then the proportional amount of political support translates into seats for that party. So if you and your party have 10% of the political support, that party can expect to get about 10% of the seats. This completely replaces the whole estates system. However, that means that now it's no longer kind of confusing of like, well, where's my stuff? Your stuff is sort of just nebulously attached to you. But if you are a governor of several provinces, and those provinces have, let's jump back into the base game itself. So, like, let's say you are the governor of the province of Latium in Italia, and you or previous governments have increased the infrastructure of that province, or wherever these provincial improvements, I think, are what they're called. Each of those will add a 0.1% modifier to your existing resources. So if you have, so let's say I have 3 of each skill, and I've used, spent some stuff. So I'm just gonna have the base level amount, and I'm the governor of a few provinces, and that adds up to say 0.7. Then every cycle, not every year, but every cycle, that's incorrect. Oh, it should be plus that. There we go. All right, good. It's good that I found this fluke before we started playing. So anyway, you can see that it directly it then just adds an extra multiplier to increase the resources that I have. So in that case, there's then that incentive. If I'm building up my political influence and become the governor of a province, I might actually want to improve that province. Because it will both directly improve my holdings, but also will benefit the playthrough and the Republic, which of course we all wish to benefit our great Republic. All right, so let's sort of run through the timetable of jumping into the playthrough. So let's say you happen to get in at the start of the playthrough, you use the command to join the Senate, then you maybe take some actions, and your party gets elected. Well, what does that look like? Let's check that out. So, the party system is basically the same, but a little bit different. We start with 2 major parties, the Optimates and the Populares. You can always add new parties in the future. but we're just changing things up by having some existing parties. And we're doing a little bit of a throwback to pretty far back. Parties now have ideological wings. So that's actually that might be like a year ago. Maybe the winter made me think of that. Anyway, so in this case, there are 2 political parties, but really kind of 4 factions, political factions in Rome to begin with. They're the conservative optimates. So that's one end of the political spectrum. The moderate optimates, the reforming populares, and then the other end of the spectrum, the extremist populares. So this can help viewers signal where they kind of want things to go, sort of signal to other players that might not be around but will be stopping in, or also just signal to yourself how you want things to go. So it allows you might support what the optimates are doing in terms of proposals, but you want to take a harder line against some reforms, or you want to be more accommodating to reforms. This gives you some leeway without having to worry that another party will come into power that you don't necessarily like. So it means that if there are, say, three viewers with a lot of political support piled into the reforming populares, you don't have to, and you have like maybe 2 viewers in the conservatives, and you think, well, I want to be more moderate, but I don't want the populares to just come into power. That gives you leeway. So that we're going to see how that works. If we go like, this is weird, then we'll get rid of it. If we go, yeah, this really works, then we'll keep it. But you can always add more parties, and you can also add wings to existing parties. That should alleviate the sort of, I don't know, it's not that we always have like an underlying, people are always asking like, can I form a coalition with other parties? I guess this can sort of help us with that maybe. To be like, no, I guess, I don't know, but we'll see. Also because we're sort of pulling power away from parties and giving more say directly to viewers. I don't really know how any of this stuff is going to end up playing out, because it's just a very different version of Viewers Elect that we're going to be trying out. But I ran it by the patrons, and they all loved it. So shout outs to FFL, who has that high enough level to give the feedback on our playstyles and rule sets. Let's see. Also, there are now, let's jump into the game itself. There is a big change in terms of, I just took a screenshot. There are these major families. So alongside how you can, those aren't even words, that's not even a sentence. Along with the decision of which in-game faction you want your party to support, or you personally to support, you can also support in-game great families. If you're like, I like that family, I want it to rise. You can if you want to. Or you can be merit-based, which tends to be what everyone gravitates towards. Proposals are still basically the same, although the idea is that they're going to be more sort of long-term rules, ideas, policies, law, tactics, goals, strategies that you'd like us to play by. So basically political issues or goals. That's just because since the playthrough is designed to be more hands-on and more rewarding for viewers who are currently active in the playthrough, I think we won't need as many proposals in general, that people will just be able to say in chat, like, this is what I want right now. And then they'll know, or you'll know, okay, like, this is the policy we're doing, but we're kind of doing it because I'm here right now. If I want us to continue doing that once I have to leave in an hour, I better put it into a proposal and try and get it through the tribal assembly or the Senate. So, your party has taken power. What does that mean? It means you'll be able to make appointments. Currently, there are just basically 2 offices that people can be appointed to. I thought about having more. I just thought, no, 2 is going to be good. Governorships and being a general. And a general also means admiral. It's just interchangeable. What do generals do, and what do governors do? A governor is in charge of a province, so they'll be kind of directing me towards if they should be like building certain buildings, if we have the money, and increasing the development of the province. just generally sort of determining the direction that we want the province to go. And so it will probably be... It can be very broad of just like, I don't know, make the province be better. We can do that. But there are a lot of tutorial videos on interesting strategies on how to improve provinces that I recommend typing into YouTube and checking out. Because there are a lot of subtleties. It becomes a lot of, like, you have a lot of really big cities, and so you want to be able to feed the cities. And then you have all the slaves out in the countryside, so you want to be able to police the slaves. It's interesting dynamics that have risen up. So as a governor, you can then raise troops. That could be your own personal troops. The state will still pay the maintenance, but you will pay the initial manpower and wealth cost to raise those troops. In the same way, if you want to, unless the government agrees that the state should pay for the improvements, you will want to spend your own political influence to develop the provinces that you are the governor of. And we'll see how we want the terms of governorship to go. If we want it to be very fluid, someone just kind of pops in and out as a governor, or if we want it to be sort of set terms, and maybe the terms can change. You could say, like, that person's going to be governor for 20 years, just so we can kind of lock down that province and keep it from this other party. Or we'll just appoint people after every election to sort of just see who's around. Then you get to generals. Generals, of course, are always in charge of their own personal armies, as well as then state armies can be allocated to them. And the way that the Livy update has changed things, it seems like the main strategy is to have fewer larger armies, rather than having to, like, break up armies, then have them coalesce, then break up again, coalesce and break up. So that's good. That should help with this general system that we're going to have. And it can be as vague as, like, this person's just in charge of the military, and then you go, fight the enemies! And that's, like, super vague to, like, super specific of, like, these 3 legions are under this player's command. They have Imperium to invade the, like, secure the Etruscan province of Etruria, and that's it. Like, it can be very narrow, it can be very open-ended, depending on the government and the viewers that are around. Basically just our own personal interest. Let's see, am I forgetting anything else? I think not. One thing I just love is you can now see where things are coming in and going out. They're making the game better, and that's good. All right, so let's just sort of go over everything to make sure that we've gone over everything. So every 2 years, there is an election. The election is determined by political support for each party. Viewers have political support. That political support comes from your skills. You improve your skills and gain resources, private resources, by using actions. You can also then make proposals for parties to vote on to drive the direction of the playthrough. And I think that is everything. Yes, once you've formed government, you'll be able to determine the proposals to be voted on. That's automatic. As long as the party leader has ahead of time said, like, we support these proposals, we oppose these proposals, then I'm able to just do everything. It's pretty quick. And then, of course, appointing generals, appointing governors. Generals are able to organize their forces, keep track of their forces, invade the enemy, defend Rome, and governors are able to build up their provinces, with the idea being that we'll only upgrade provinces if we've appointed a governor, but the governor doesn't have to actively know what's going on. Which means you don't have to be an expert in this game to participate. You can just be, I'm a general, I don't even know what that means. Because, like, I don't really know how all the combat works. And you could be like, I'm a governor, I don't know, the government is governing and I'm governing, things are happening. So that's good, yeah. There are going to be 3 states of which a viewer can be in. There is active, lurk, and inactive. At the start of every stream, everyone is automatically inactive who have entered the game before, and once they show themselves, they can either put themselves into active or lurk. Lurk means you're around, you might be playing another video game on the side, or watching other channels, or working on some homework, or writing a thesis paper, or listening to music, just doing other things, or you don't have the best internet connection, but you're still wanting to be a part of the playthrough, that means that you don't have to have everything under control, under your direct management, but you're around, but you're not necessarily saying, this is exactly what I'm doing, everything. Active is that more vague to specifically defined. It means that you are active, you are around, you're in chat, you know what's going on, and you're actively telling us what you want to do, but it could be that kind of vague thing of like, invade those people. Whereas lurk, I will more kind of sort of move your person around for you in terms of if you're a governor, if your party's in power. And then inactive just means like, hey, I've got to head out, guys, or you haven't shown up for the session yet. And so that is everything, I believe. And if it isn't, then we'll cover it while we're playing. This is, I mean, once again, it's another pretty big departure from past Vera Select playthroughs. That's why I've put together this tutorial, this very rambling tutorial. It is the very first, technically it's the second tutorial we've ever done. And so that's why it's so rambly and so long. Apologies. But thank you, everybody, for... Oh, God. Sorry. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And this has been way too long. See ya.